Let's go! That traitor twist was insane. Horikoshi played the shit out of me last chapter. What a goat. Horikoshi? More like Horigoshi. I'll stop. I'll stop. I know that was bad. Let's just get into this. Welcome back to another My Hero Academia chapter. Spoilers. Of course, before getting into chapter 336, let's go over a quick recap of chapter 335. So in chapter 335, All Might was giving class 1A the rundown on what's going on with the whole Shigaraki situation and how their deadline till Shigaraki becomes complete was extended to a week thanks to Stars and Stripes. With an all-out war being inevitable, All Might lists off their biggest threats so that everyone knows what they are up against. That being Shigaraki, All For One, Dabi, Toga, the near high-end Nomus, and the remnants of the Liberation Front. All Might tells them all to use this time to get stronger, in which they all say how this whole time they have been training without All Might ever noticing. The class all gets excited about getting stronger together, and we then see how Shigaraki and the villains are holding up. Shigaraki is super pissed about the whole Stars and Stripes situation and how she embodied everything that All Might stood for. All For One decides to keep everyone on standby for a little longer so that Shigaraki can recover, and Dabi, being Dabi, doesn't like the idea of waiting any longer, and All For One tells Dabi that they are both the same, but what All For One has that Dabi lacks are friends to spare, in which the chapter ends showing Toru Hagakure presumably making her the UA traitor. Now chapter 336 starts by showing the class all training, where we see Kirishima in the background willingly taking a beating to better his hardening. Todoroki is also in the background training as well. We see Bakugo trying out his new cluster moves on Deku like he said he wanted to do in the last chapter, and after their training session we also get the grand return of Afro Deku, which is always a treat. Here Bakugo says that cluster is based on what he learned from Endeavor of building up and releasing, condensing his power. He further explains that he produces multiple spheres of sweat and explodes them simultaneously, which is why he is in his winter costume, to increase his sweat production. This is actually really cool that he's going to be using his winter outfit from now on to increase his sweat. Kinda makes me wonder if for the winter he would need to end up putting on something a little heavier and warmer just to keep that same sweat production level for the winter. We in all out war mode, and I'm more worried about what Bakugo is going to be wearing for the winter. Continuing on, Todoroki also training wants to improve the control of the two halves of his body, which is going to be insane seeing Todoroki finally mastering this. Seeing the fire and ice disperse from him holding his hands together in the panels already looked really cool, so I'm hoping we get a fire and ice prominence burn in the future. We then see Kaminari and Mineta sitting on a bench talking, saying that the two enemy generals are weakened and that Gigantomachia is still sleeping and in prison, so the chances of winning are greater than ever. As they say this, we see a metal structure being built, which is where they are holding that thick boy Makia at. I think these fools honestly just jinxed the whole thing, because watch Makia break out and start booking it to the battlefield when this all-out war starts. Honestly, I wouldn't even be mad about it, because then we get to see Kirishima go at it with Makia again. Bakugo comes in and says that they are way too optimistic about the whole thing, and he gives them 3 points proving how difficult this all-out war is really going to be. His first point being that they are really unlikely to find All For One. Back when they found the Nomu labs in the villain hideout, All For One was really never there until he came out of hiding to save Shigaraki. Plus, All For One had hid for several years after he lost to All Might the first time, so finding him now will be more than difficult. And let's be honest, All For One is basically just a pro at hide and seek. Also, I just love the fact how Bakugo just roasts the shit out of anyone, calling All For One ballsack face. Bakugo's second point, which was said by Momo, goes over how Shigaraki was already more than weakened in their last battle with them during the war arc, and even even then he was slapping all of the heroes around mostly by himself. So to think that it would be an easy fight now, especially with the reduced number of heroes they got now, is very naive of them to think that. Also, I just love how with each point, Kaminari gets more depressed. And then his last point has him saying that the villains must already have a plan and are waiting for the right moment. Assuming that Search was destroyed in Shigaraki's fight against Star, they must have a plan B. So their best thing to do now is to prepare for them to attack. Bakugo here was mostly on the money with everything he said, aside from Shigaraki losing the quirk Search, because we saw him use Search at the end of the last chapter, which makes me wonder if Search is going to be used heavily in the final battle for stealing new useful quirks to replace the ones he had lost. All I'm saying is Class 1A and 1B and the pro heroes need to be very careful in that final battle. After this, Deku expresses that he still wants to go out and search for them, but Ida quickly chops him on the head, telling him to stop thinking of me like how he was before they brought him back, but us, because they are all in this together. They all say that they can now move more freely thanks to Ochako's speech, bringing the students closer to the civilians. Kaminari comes to the conclusion that no matter if they move or wait, All For One is sure to be laughing at them. We then switch over to Toru in the forest, telling herself that a certain someone has been quite depressed since the end of the war. She is watching 3 people talking in the distance. One of them says that the other has to obey because he is back giving orders, that he needs to keep doing what he always did because the signs he is sending are disguised as everyday actions and are impossible to trace. Toru thinks to herself that even after Midoriya came back, this person didn't smile not once. She was so worried and went after him, but that's when she found out that Aoyama is the UA traitor. And holy shit, was this reveal just insane. I know I said that it made sense for Toru to be the UA traitor in chapter 335, which was mostly due to her quirk, but Aoyama being the real traitor is just way better in my opinion. I do still believe our theory of All For One using the UA traitor to make things worse for the heroes and Hero Society is still alive and well, just going to have to replace Toru with Aoyama instead. All praise Horikoshi, the almighty god, for this god tier reveal, because let's be honest, these last 2 weeks have been a roller coaster for many, including myself. I honestly still can't believe this reveal right now. So in the forest are shown to be Aoyama's and his parents are telling him that he needs to keep obeying All For One or else they will be killed. His mom expresses that he was already obeying All For One's requests when the school year started, informing him the location of the training camp without anyone finding out. Aoyama cries and doesn't want to go through with it, but his parents follow up by saying that they aren't doing it because they like it either, but it's too late to go against All For One. Toru, still listening to the conversation, can't believe what she is hearing, and she thinks back to USJ and the forest training camp. Now here is where we get a crazy revelation. Aoyama's mother, filled with regret, says that they only wanted their son to be happy, and we then get a short flashback to Aoyama as a child, and in the flashback Aoyama's mom asks him, "Do you want to be like everyone else, Yuga?" And Aoyama replies saying yes, because being the only one different is scary. Aoyama was born quirkless, so his parents asked All For One to grant him a quirk so that he could chase his dreams. Here we then see a very excited looking All For One before his first battle with All Might even happening, reaching to give Aoyama his very first quirk. Now this is all starting to make sense as to why Aoyama's quirk was never compatible with his body, because it was never his quirk to begin with. That's why he needed that support item belt to keep Naval Laser from leaking out, and honestly this whole thing is just insane to me. In the present, Toru realizes that she needs to warn a teacher, but she sees someone approaching. Aoyama, still crying, says that he has been suffering this whole time. dedicated himself to this role to not bring about any suspicion, as well as to not be consumed by guilt. When All For One was arrested in Kamino, he thought to himself that he could finally live peacefully with his friends, but he was wrong. His parents apologize, and Aoyama says that he did all of this to protect them because he didn't want them to be killed. They then ask him to continue protecting them, but that's when Deku, along with Toru, arrive. Deku says that he heard something about there being a traitor from Toru and asks if it's true. Aoyama's parents try to play dumb, acting as if they don't know what the hell he's even talking about, and Aoyama cries non-stop while looking at Deku, as he thinks to himself, blaming himself for being the only one who didn't say anything to him during the rescue. We then see a panel showing Aoyama's reaction to the letter Deku had left for everyone back when he left UA, which it hurts a lot to look at that panel because he really does look like he's hurting deeply inside as he's reading that letter. Deku says that he had gone to the forest to look for him because he realized that something was wrong when Aoyama was the only one who remained sad the whole time. Aoyama, with all of his guilt consuming him upon hearing this, finally breaks and starts talking. He tells Deku that he was the one who leaked the location of the training camp and USJ. Aoyama then says that he is a disgusting villain, which shocks Deku, with him looking as if he can't believe what he is hearing from Aoyama. The chapter then ends with a flashback of the cheese Aoyama left on Deku's balcony back in chapter 168 that spelled I know, which now has a completely new meaning to everything. And now that I think about it, does that mean he knew about All Might and Deku at that time? That would be insane. Holy shit, was this chapter a heavy hitter, and I'm really glad that Toru wasn't the one who was actually the traitor. The biggest question that I have now is, will Aoyama be receiving the Nagant treatment and blow up in the beginning of chapter 337? We know All For One had placed a failsafe within Nagant that would blow her up if she had betrayed him, so I feel it would only make sense for there to be one within Aoyama and possibly the rest of his family. But that also begs the question, is Aoyama still going to be fighting alongside his friends? Yes, Aoyama has been betraying them, but from what we saw, he doesn't want to. He was forced to do it or else his parents would be killed. He was basically held hostage for wanting a quirk to pursue his dreams. And he at heart isn't an evil person. Plus, back in chapter 324 at the end of Ochako's speech, Deku from the future is narrating, saying how this is the story of how we all became the greatest heroes. And the words "we all" were in bold, meaning that his whole class, which would be including Aoyama, become the greatest heroes. I do think there will be that split in opinion within our heroes and the class where people don't trust in Aoyama anymore, but I do think he is going to try and prove himself to the class and the heroes in the future. And what better way to start than by confessing? I'm also especially interested in seeing the reactions of Bakugo and Momo, because Momo almost died in the forest by that one Nomu, and Bakugo got kidnapped in the forest too, which led to a lot of stuff. I do think Deku will end up coming to an understanding with Aoyama and be on his side, because recently, after his talk with the Vestiges, he has been trying to understand his villains, seeing what made them do the things that they did, to see if he can try to save them, or he would have no choice but to fight them. I think Deku will want to save Aoyama, especially seeing how hurt he is by all of this, and the fact that, you know, he was basically manipulated into betraying them. Honestly, this chapter was amazing, and it has me wondering about a lot of things that could end up happening as a result of this reveal. Horikoshi just keeps dropping that fire back to back, and I can't wait for chapter 337. Let me know in the comments section below your thoughts on chapter 336. Did the reveal catch you off guard? Let me know everything in the comment section below. With that said, if you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to Detroit smash that like button below, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. If you are new to the channel and you want to see more My Hero Academia content, then be sure to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on to join the Kitoroki Hero Academia to become my hero. Doing all of this really does help the channel out a lot, and it's always appreciated. Remember to stay plus ultra, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.